Being recorded.
Hey guys, this is Camfrey15 and I'm back at it with another video for you guys. And I am here with a episode review of the Aquatope on white sand. The interestingly new summer anime, which I found out is actually an anime only type of a thing, or an anime original show. And I watched last week's episode of this, and then I watched this week's episode of this. I'm more going to be talking more about this week's episode compared to last week, but I'll talk a little bit about last week and kind of just give my general thoughts on the show. Like, when I watched last week's episode, I was like, okay, this is really good. This is a good show. I'm liking where this is going. I don't know if I'm going to review this on the channel. And when I went on YouTube, this show isn't getting a lot of, like, I guess you can say, rep and stuff like that. And not a lot of people were reviewing the show. Like, I only saw like 2 people's reviews of the show. I guess I'll be the third person reviewing this show on YouTube, I guess. So expect this series to be a weekly review series. But I'm definitely liking it, especially after this past episode, episode 2. I really am liking where this is going. This is definitely giving me Amagi Brilliant Park vibes here. And what I mean by in terms of which I figured in the first episode, like when I was watching the first episode, it felt to me like this aquarium might be in like some sort of depth situation to where they need to make this amount of money so they can be able to stay afloat. Now it's something like this. Essentially, we find out in episode 2 that essentially the reason why as her pronouncing her name, Kukuri, I'm probably gonna just call her Misakino, since that's probably better. Is the fact that Misakino needs essentially, like, I think from what I saw, like over $3 million or something like that, because obviously the water tanks for the animals, they're starting to degrade and they're starting to get old, and eventually you're gonna have to get new tanks to be able to keep the animals there living healthy and everything. Otherwise, that whole stuff. And they have to essentially do this and like do this during the summer, get enough money, make obviously the aquarium, have a lot of tourists attending this aquarium, so they can achieve more money, so then they can buy the new tanks, have those installed, and yeah, they can go on with their business. But they have to do this in a summertime where, well, let's be honest, if the summer ends, Misakino's grandfather is going to essentially sell the place. And we see in episode 2 that these 2 people were trying to willingly try to make Misakino fall for a bait and switch and try to get them to sell the aquarium and everything. But we see that Misakino, her dream is to see, obviously, Gamma Aquarium succeed, and that's her dream, to see it, succeed and have a lot of tourists come by and stuff like that. So yeah, and I do like her character. Her character is very cool, very interesting, and you can see in this episode, especially when she gets a little heated at Fuka for messing up, the fact that she really does care about this and she really takes this seriously, and stuff like that. So I really like Misakino's character in this show, because she seems like a character that's very determined, very strong-willed, very passionate about this job she has, because we know she's the director during the summertime, while her grandfather's the director essentially year-round. So it's definitely interesting. I like her character. Now, obviously, the other character that I guess you can say I fell in love with, not because she looks cute and everything, but because her character arc was so interesting, and it's even flourished here in episode 2, of the fact that we have the character of Fuka. Now, in episode 1, we're led to believe that Fuka isn't doing too well because her bosses think she's lazy and she's, I guess, not somebody who's committed to her work. But we find out in this episode, what happens is she loses her job from being an idol. She's essentially kind of a runaway, and she doesn't know what she's doing. Like, she's not even contacting her parents or her mom. She's telling her mom a little lie, essentially, saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna go over, hang out at my friend's house, and then I'll be home the next day." And we see how the mother is kind of worried about her in episode 2, of the fact that, well, Fuka's essentially hiding all this information from her mother. And we see like how, at the end of episode 1, she's so desperate to try to get a job and do something. She asked Misakino, like, "Hey, can I work here?" and stuff like that. And we see obviously what happens is Misakino is like, "Yeah, you can work here. You just have to be committed and stuff like that. And you can also live at my place for the time being." But we get essentially the full backstory to Fuka in this episode, of the standpoint of it's not what really is what we thought she was. We thought she was like a lazy person. I guess you could say she got the short end of the stick by, not being able to make the cut and stuff like that. The reasoning behind the reason why she was essentially fired from, I guess, her idol school and stuff like that, and getting this big part she was in this play, was the fact that she overheard a conversation with this one girl in obviously their trio, who's essentially having, family problems in terms of her grandma, essentially not having the money, the funds, the necessary funds to take care of her grandma, as, she's in the hospital. And she's asking like, "Hey, is there anything I can do to try to get these funds and everything?" But obviously the people in charge are like, "Sorry, we can't do much of nothing." So, Fuka sees this girl in this position, and she willingly sacrifices her role so this girl could get the role and get probably the most amount of money to provide for her family, to provide for her grandma, to help her. And we see that obviously in this act, Fuka was doing a very unselfish thing. She was actually doing a pretty good deed to this person. But because of her good deed, because of her unselfishness, it made the bosses think, "Oh, she's being lazy and she's not caring," and stuff like that. And essentially because of it, it gave her a bad rap. Which again, listen, in a real world sense, even though Fuka did do something really nice, like it was really nice, in a real world business sense, I think we can all admit 9 out of 10 times, yes, you'll feel bad for the person that can't provide for obviously themselves or their family. But at the end of the day, it's your life and you're trying to provide for yourself. It's like they say out there in the real world, it's a dog, fish, dog eat town. Not everybody's going to hold your hand. Sometimes you're going to have friends in your company in whatever business place area you work at. And guess what? You're both competing to see who can get a higher position if there's a higher position available. And stuff like that. And I think Fuka kind of made the mistake here, even though it was in the best interest of her heart, to give up that role she was in, because it looked like she would have had her life all set up. She was going to probably be an idol, and maybe down the road as she gets older, maybe become a big superstar in obviously the media world. But because she did an unselfish act, it kind of honestly bit her in the ass. And because of it, she's probably not going to get in this whole thing again. And we see here in this episode, for episode 2, the fact that, she's kind of her keeping all these emotions and this whole thing bottled up inside, especially not telling Misakino about what her real story is going on. It kind of affects her mentality. And we see her kind of mess up with the penguins, feeding the penguins and stuff like that. And we see how Misakino kind of gets upset at her. And Misakino's like, "Hey, if you're not going to be devoted to doing this, why did you even sign up?" And it was a pretty interesting conversation, because essentially it was Misakino was telling Fuka, like, "Look, are you going to be committed to doing this? Or are you just going to or are you just pulling my leg?" Like, Misakino makes a pretty good line saying like, listen, you have to worry about the animals and stuff like that. The animals are the most important things here and stuff like that. And then you see a few, minutes later in the episode where after the two dudes who were trying to make, like, I guess you can say, trick Misakino into selling the aquarium, we see one of the dudes not care about the billboard that obviously Misakino told Fuka, like, this billboard means a lot. And we set it up every day and stuff like that as a great welcoming to the aquarium. We see that obviously, when the one dude knocked it down and didn't have any regard for it, we saw how Fuka got upset because she thought this means a lot to Misakino. And I like the dynamic, especially after Fuka tells Misakino everything about her backstory and everything. I like the fact in this scene where she's like, look, I didn't achieve my dream, but when I found out about your dream and what you want to accomplish, I didn't want to, I don't want you to be in the same position. I don't want you to be like me, where your dream has to be forcibly given up because, circumstances. And I like I like the whole fact that Fuka wants to fight, for someone's dream, to see that dream accomplished. And I think that's what makes this show so damn good. The character interaction between Misakino and Fuka was so good of how these characters came together. Also, there's some interesting, like, I guess you can say, like, character. It's like some sort of, I'm guessing, like a guardian-like character that obviously our main characters don't see who it is, but I'm guessing it's like a main character that brings upon good luck or something like that. Because we see in the first episode, Fuka had obviously that straw hat, but it blew away. When she literally slept on the beach, it was taken by the one interesting character. So I wonder if that character is like some sort of symbolic type of good luck charm, like some sort of guardian watching over the aquarium, and stuff like that, or if it's like a legit person. Because obviously we see Misakino and Fuka both pray to the shrine and stuff like that, and we see how this character takes obviously the fish from the shrine and just eats it. So I wonder if it's like some sort of guardian like character watching over, I guess, this aquarium or this land area. So yeah, and then the thing is, like, they're gonna have to build this aquarium up because they're out in like the countryside essentially. Like, you see the landscape they're in. Yes, they're near a beach and everything, but essentially it's like a beach near the countryside in Japan and everything. So very interesting. But this show really is really good. Like, I like the character development we've got, especially in episode 2 with Fuka. She's literally honestly best girl. Like, and you could see once she got all that unnecessary stress off by telling Misakino like her backstory, that she's a runaway, you can see that the stress she had all over in like the first episode, and even up halfway in this episode, you could see that she felt relieved and she became a new person. She's like, I'm gonna start my life over by helping out my new friend and getting her dream accomplished. I really do like that. And I think the character development between these two friends are going to be really good. I also like the side cast of characters. It seems like they're going to be very important in helping get this aquarium back afloat as well. So this show is going to be very interesting. I'm going to be watching this show week to week. I honestly, I saw the poster. I'm like, this looks interesting. I gave it a watch last week, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, this is actually pretty good. And watching episode 2 tonight, I was like, oh, this show is going to be an underrated sleeper in summer anime 2021. I'm actually shocked this show isn't getting talked about more. Like, I really believe, like, hands down, when this season of anime is done, I feel like you can make the case that the Aquatope of White Sand might go down as maybe the best, you know, other than obviously your big animes like the One Piece and My Hero Academia, the big, you know, summer anime show that got slept on. Or I would probably say it's not, it's going to be a criminally underrated show that I request. If you are watching this and you are questioning, should I check this out? I will say this. I think you should check it out. I feel like it's worth your time to check out this, you know, this series and go along with this journey. Like I said, it reminds me a little bit of Amagi Brilliant Park from the whole standpoint, you know, building up this aquarium to get more tourists to come in and do this and stuff like that. And then the character development on top of that whole aspect, the character development seems really good for this series. And it seems like they're going to build the characters up really well. The music is also pretty well too. I like the music here in this show as well, but very interesting show. I'm definitely hooked on and I'm definitely loving. So you can expect weekly reviews from this point on going forward. So if you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on the Aquatope of White Sand. Do you like it? Is it not intriguing you? And how do you like the characters if you do like this show? Or where do you think this is going to be going? Other than that, hit that subscribe button if you want to get more of this show's content till I guess this show ends. Yeah, other than that, if you do hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification bell icon so you can get updated to whenever I upload to the channel. Other than that, guys, I'm going to catch you guys in the next video. I'll see you guys later. Till then, guys, peace.